right? But as I have said, the stationary series can also have spurious regression. You cannot eliminate the chances of spurious regression by just taking differences.
So now in that light, how do you detect that there is, in terms of stationary data, there is... Okay, you will learn it inshallah in next slide. Well, we will learn as well, the writing as we go, now the practical as well. Okay. All right, thank you, sir.
So let me bring you back to the history of time series analysis. Basically, you know, this econometrics started in 1880s. Okay. The history of econometrics starts from 1880s. And who was the inventor of this, these techniques that we are using today? He was Mr. Let me tell you. Sir Francis Galton. Okay. This is a person who invented regression analysis. Who was Galton? Galton was cousin of Charles Darwin. Do you know who is Darwin? The father of theory of evolution. Now you remember who was Charles Darwin? Right. What was the field of study of Darwin? Biology. In similar way, Galton was also biologist. And the first data set that he used for regression analysis was height of father versus height of son. He was doing research on the law of heredity. And it was a cross-sectional data. So when the time series, when the econometrics got invented, it was invented on the cross-sectional data. And then in early years, it was used for the cross-sectional and time series data without any differentiation. It was used in a similar way for time series and for the cross-sectional data. And then in 1926, Joule was the person who found that regression of time series data may lead to spurious result. Right? Joule in 1926 said that the regression analysis applied to time series data may lead you to spurious result. Basically, he gave an example of marriages in church and the infant mortality. If marriages are happening in church, should this have any effect on infant mortality? Is there any biological sense in it? We don't see any sense, right? But there was, the regression between these two variables was significant, which means the statistics shows the two variables are related. And because this was not making sense, it was termed as spurious regression. And from that day, the people started treating the time series in a different way from the cross-sectional econometrics, because they thought that if you are using time series, there is possibility of spurious regression. So the treatment of cross-sectional data should be somewhat different from the treatment of time series data. And then after that, there was study of Granger and Newbold, which explained the one of the possible reason behind this. But what Yule said that spurious regression happens because of missing variable. Okay. He said that the reason for spurious regression is missing variable. ठीक? Then, as we have discussed, Granger and Newbold, they said that spurious regression happens due to unit root. Now look, the second thing is not a negation of the first. If I am saying that Ghulam Ghosh is able to solve a mathematical problem, would this mean that Madam Maryam cannot solve that mathematical problem? Is it a logical conclusion of the first thing? No. In a similar way, if you are finding that unit root is a cause of spurious regression, this never means that the first reason which was discussed by Yule, missing variable, is not a reason of spurious regression. It's possible that the two reasons are producing the spurious result, and actually the two reasons are producing spurious results. But what happened, the time series that was developed after the study of Granger and Newbold, it was entirely written in the context of the term spurious regression was discussed entirely in the context of unit root only. They completely ignored the reason discussed by Yule. It should not happen because this is one reason, this is another reason. The second reason cannot deny the first reason. But the people ignored the first reason for spurious regression, and they just went on discussion of the second. And this was another problem. Now let me tell you one example. I just want to show that what Yule said is still relevant and still producing spurious results. What the Granger and Newbold said, this is a reality at its own place, and this is not a negation of the first thing. How can we, so let me give you one example. There was one person who found a topic for research. What is the relationship between shoe size and mathematical ability? He went to a school and took a scientific sample, a proper sample which should be there, and then he collected the data on shoe size and then collected the data on mathematical ability and found very strong relationship. Higher shoe, longer shoe is associated with larger mathematical ability, larger ability to solve the mathematical problems. And I'm saying if you are going to school and you are taking survey, you will also find same result. What could be the policy conclusion? the University of Lahore should give admission to those who are having longer feet. Is it correct? Because if you do the survey today, you will find same result. This is guaranteed. Does this mean that the admission policy should be to give the admission to person having longer feet? What is happening basically? Why you are finding strong relationship between these two variables? There was a person who went to school, took a survey, it was a scientific survey, and he found very strong relationship between shoe size and mathematics, mathematical ability. What could be the possible reason? It's not making sense. Why the longer feet should have more IQ level? But what is the reason behind this phenomena? Why do you are seeing this kind of thing? Can anybody explain? Achha. Chalen, let me tell you. Basically, what happens if you are going to school, I am repeating the term school again and again because this phenomena will happen in school. If you are taking a survey from University of Lahore, probably you will not find that phenomena. But in school you can see this thing. Why? Because in school you have people coming from different classes. There are the students of class 1, they have small shoe and small ability to solve the mathematical problems. Okay? And if you are restricting your sample only to class 1, you will not find a significant